The year I hiked the Pacific Crest Trail was a record snow year, and I loved it, every step of the way. I vividly remember those early thru-hiking days, glissading down snowy slopes, soaking in breathtaking views of jagged mountain peaks and pushing through some of the biggest river crossings I have ever faced. It became one of the most intense and rewarding experiences of my life. But that sense of nostalgia wasn't always there. Before we could take on those challenges, we had 700 miles of desert to cross. From day one, every hiker seemed to be talking about those unforgiving mountains ahead, where the safety of that dusty old gravel path would eventually disappear beneath a thick layer of cold white snow. Those conversations spiraled into a collective anxiety, visions of swollen rivers washing us away and steep icy slopes ending in sheer cliffs. I knew it would be tough, especially since I had no idea what I was hiking into. The Sierras was an unknown to me, a challenge I had never faced before. And in the back of my mind, I worried, did I have the strength and knowledge to handle it? After finishing the PCT, I looked back at that fear, and it almost seemed ridiculous. Sure, the danger was real and shouldn't be underestimated. But the worst-case scenarios I had built up in my mind never quite matched reality. It wasn't a constructive way to assess the risk. So, going into the CDT, I wanted to approach it differently, more balanced, more prepared. This time, it wasn't the same great unknown. I had tested myself before and I had come through it. Surely this time I would not experience the same level of anxiety. But here's the thing. When people collectively face a challenge, we naturally talk about it, over and over, for better or worse. And before I knew it, those familiar feelings started creeping in again. Recognizable, yet just as hard to manage. Now I was 2/3 of the way through New Mexico, and the snow maps told a clear story. The snowpack had started to decline, but it was still far above average. The reality had settled in. It wouldn't reach zero before we arrived in Colorado. Still, I was determined to enjoy the last dry miles from Grand to Cuba before we faced what I had started calling snowpack number 1, just before Ghost Ranch. Then would come the washed-out log bridge over Rio Vallecito, and beyond that, snowpack number 2, the first real stretch of deep snow before the Colorado border. And yet, despite the creeping anxiety, I felt a spark of excitement. Crossing into Colorado meant a new chapter, the second state of the trail, one that was promising to be quite unforgettable. In Grant, we stayed at the Lava Flow Hostel, the cheapest and coolest spot in town run by the local ranger. We borrowed bikes and did the usual town chores, laundry, restocking food and grabbing some bacon, eggs and pancakes. It was my first real break since Silver City, and I enjoyed it fully before heading out on the 5 miles of asphalt leading out of town.
There's a palace of falling, there's a smoke in the sky, there's a boy running downhill to the lowlands tonight. And he's catching the train to where he's heard you have been. He's a fool now among us, but a dreamer within, dreaming of you.
On this otherwise dull stretch, there's a classic CDT photo op, the no hitchhiking sign just before the local prison. Quite different from the usual thru-hiking views, but also a moment to reflect on how lucky I am to be free and doing what I love.
In that land there's a winter, and that winter's a day. In that day there's a moment when it all goes your way, and you know it's a lion's heart that will tumble and tear apart when he's coming down the hills for you.
The trail started climbing towards the 3,446 meter peak of Mount Taylor, or whatever 11,000 plus feet that is in American measures.
Up there, through his howling at twilight, all his songs of despair. Do you remember the color of black and white crime? Well, he lives by that memory and falls from his mind, and you know it's a lion's heart that will tumble and tear apart.
Funny thing. Oh man, this trail is beautiful. It's after that 5-mile road walk, it's just so great to be on an actual trail again. Pack is heavy and we started climbing, but oh man, it's beautiful out here, so it's great. I had a little bit of a drizzle, but it actually looks a little bit clearer than when I was walking the road, so I hope I will not have too much rain this afternoon.
When it's coming down the hills for you.
Beautiful morning. I started in the dark and it was pretty hard to follow the trail, but didn't get up there for sunrise, but it's so cloudy today anyway, so what can you do?
I stepped onto my first patch of snow as I climbed above 3,000 meters. The glow of sunrise was visible over the summit ridge. I might not have made it up for the first rays of light, but that meant I could see more of the landscape on my way up. When I finally reached the top, I was stunned by what opened up before me.
Trudging through the mist, following the creeks.
Instagram rumors said this section would be special, and Mount Taylor was just the beginning of what would become my favorite stretch of New Mexico. At first though, descending from the high trail into the flat, featureless landscape of endless gravel roads felt disheartening. It quickly turned into an internal battle against boredom, interrupted only by the storm clouds chasing me. And trading boredom for discomfort wasn't exactly what I had in mind.
There's a big rain coming up behind me, so we'll see if I can stay dry today. Hope it will rain. I'm having a drizzle now, but behind me it looks like it's just pouring down, so we'll see.
I drifted off into my thoughts, listening to the crunch of my feet propelling me forward, a state of meditative movement. Maybe it was just about leaving that busy world behind and embracing the dullness of watching the trees on the horizon.
Come to life.
But little did I know that I was closing into a precipice, a sudden drop into a vast desert basin filled with sculptured mesas, deep arroyos and beautiful sandstone formations. I think the best part was that I really wasn't expecting anything like this.
All this time, witness to the changing tides. All the while, finding ways how to make sense of all the lights. Shade the winds, to shape the currents and the rigid heights we're living in.
After breakfast at the bottom, we continued the journey across the open desert plain. The afternoon clouds had by now become something you could set the clock by, and they started to accumulate at the edge of the plateau where we had come down from the same morning. But I didn't really mind. I was fully enjoying the newness around me, with excitement around every bend of the trail. It's just nice with some variation sometimes, you know?
Oh wow, the trail has been absolutely beautiful today. Climbed down into this valley and it's just been amazing down here so far. It's getting to lunchtime, started to get really hungry, but I'm gonna go for maybe half an hour more or something like that before I stop for lunch. Might be trail magic later, it's rumored about, so hoping for that.
I'm pretty sure that's trail magic, which amazing.
That was a truly amazing trail magic. I had some pasta with sausages or something like that. But it was great. It was really, really great. Yeah, just as I walked in, sat down on the tent, it started to rain. And that is pretty crazy because it's been like, the rain has been like looming all day, just hanging over. And right now when I left, it kind of stopped. It's drizzling a little bit, but basically nothing. So yeah, great trail magic. I walked pretty late today. It was almost dark when I started pitching my tent, and it was pretty difficult to get the stakes into the ground here. So yeah, that was a bit annoying. But I have 21 miles, I think, to town, and then I can get to town maybe around 2 o'clock or something like that. Would be nice. We'll see. Fun day. Yet another beautiful. I can't do that pronunciation, you know. The sunrise, pretty cool, but all the bushes are in the way, which is a shame. But what can you do?
Aside from the usual chores I had to take care of in Cuba, this was also our last chance to order gear for the snow. Something I had been procrastinating on since before I even started the trail. I finally decided to put in an order for new shoes, micro spikes and an ice axe to be shipped to my next stop at Ghost Ranch. And then it was back to another long road walk out of town. We were now heading into snow patch number 1, our first real test of handling snow on the CDT. I felt confident it wouldn't be too much of a problem, just a chance to ease into the conditions and get some practice. But there was an edge of uncertainty too. How would this compare to the Sierras on the PCT? How solid was the snowpack? And how quickly could we move through it? These were questions that could either boost our confidence or stir up even more anxiety. Still, it was nice to ease into the new rhythm of snow travel without the pressure of overwhelming conditions.
Cuba is so small in the distance. Feels weird I was just there like a little bit more, like 1.5 hours ago or something like that.
My Hokas are really losing their grip pretty fast. It's I've been sliding around in the mud now and it's, yeah, but I'm picking up a pair of Innovates X-Talon 212s in Ghost Ranch, so that's gonna be nice with some better grip. These are, I guess, now more than 500 miles plus something before the trail also on these ones, so they're really starting to get quite old and the soles are quite worn down, and it's gonna be good with some new shoes. This is actually a pretty strong flow here. I mean, definitely doable, but pretty strong flow. Well, now we're truly in the snow, and it's not too bad, but I guess it's gonna get worse. Yeah, now it's hailing. Not my favorite weather. Finally out of the snow, but it's pretty muddy. I'm pretty wrecked actually. It was tiresome to go through the snow, but all downhill now, so I think I'm pretty much out of the snow. I haven't seen so much snow in a while, so actually there's some snow over there, but yeah, not on the trail. Look at this. We have a trail log. I've already signed it, but yeah, I think Ralph missed this one. I have like 2 miles, 3 miles, 2 miles left to camp. It's nice to be down in lower elevations again. It's it's much warmer down here. Don't know how excited I am about the snow now after this last section. It was fun in the beginning, but yeah, it's gonna be a lot of snow. Well, tomorrow is dry, so that's nice.
And I truly enjoy the dry trail. The mornings were just the best part of the day. Before the weather turned dark, when everything felt cool, calm and peaceful. The landscape didn't disappoint either, something that had become a recurring theme of these latter parts of New Mexico. To reach Ghost Ranch, the most popular route is the Green Line, which takes you off the CDT at mile 674.4. It starts with a stretch of gravel road, then cuts cross-country before connecting to trails that lead to the ranch where Georgia O'Keeffe painted many of her iconic works. I couldn't help but regret what looked like an incredible ridge walk along the Red Line. But Ghost Ranch itself promised to be a scenic alternate, and hiking from Cuba to Chama in one go, a 150-mile stretch with snow patch number 1 and 2, plus the ford of Rio Vallecitos, would have been a logistical nightmare. There's also an intriguing option to hike up the rim for an additional 8 miles before descending into Ghost Ranch. Looking back, if I were to do this again, I think that's the route I would have chosen. Still, the green line I took was absolutely stunning.
I feel like I've really settled into the trail now. I'm getting close to the border of Colorado, and yeah, you know, after a while the trail becomes your home. Don't know how I feel about going into the snow. Snow yesterday was pretty tough, but we'll see. I'm gonna go for it, I think, and yeah, kind of looking forward to get to Chama. But first, Ghost Ranch, and then climbing up to higher elevations. It's supposed to be warmer weather, so hopefully it will melt away within a good time frame. It feels like this first part is coming to an end, and I'm going into the San Juans, and that will start something new. And yeah. Excited for what's to come. I just had some really nice trail magic from this couple. Their daughter is hiking CDT, and they're kind of just hanging around. Feel bad because I don't really remember the names, but they're super nice people. Gave me some cookies, an orange, and water, and I don't have to filter the water from this river, which looks a little bit brownish. Heading towards Ghost Ranch now, and it's like I should be up there because the red line is there. But if you want to go into Ghost Ranch, you go down on this road here. I feel a little bit bad about it, but yeah, I guess there will be plenty of views coming up also, so yeah.
My first pair of shoes gave out in the last few miles into Ghost Ranch. They looked as tired as I felt, trudging through the mud after a heavy rainstorm.
I am not really enjoying myself right now. The trail became a muddy mess after a big rainfall that I just had, and it's like walking on ice. It's horrific. Well, I have like 2 miles to go to get to Ghost Ranch, so I just need to get there.
The Innovates I switched to were especially nice with their 8mm deep studs that had helped me traverse many steep snowy slopes before. So I was excited to finally swap out my old Hokas. As we watched the storms brewing on the horizon, the ominous feeling of the upcoming ford and more snow began to rise. With our new gear in hand, Ralph and I hiked out to the steep canyon, out of the valley and back towards the Red Line and the CDT. The reports from those who had tackled the ford at Rio Vallecitos was clear. It wasn't going to be easy. And considering we'd be doing it at the end of a warm day, the timing wasn't exactly ideal. With my short legs, I've always found deep, fast-moving currents particularly challenging, and I assumed this crossing would be no exception. As a result, it was hard to fully enjoy the hiking that day, despite the nicer weather and the feeling of spring all around me. There are times in life when you're dreading what's to come, and it's especially strange in moments like this. When you're physically walking towards that thing you're dreading, your head tells you to turn around, but you keep taking one step at a time, moving forward. I was determined. I wanted to see the river for myself. As we started to get closer, we could hear the sound of the river growing louder. The sound raised the stakes, filling my mind with images of what was to come. It was a nervous moment reaching the river. We scoped out the stream for a while, but came to the conclusion that it seemed to be the easiest to cross at the official CDT crossing. And after some deliberation, Ralph went out for the first try.
That was a pretty tough crossing, I ain't gonna lie. It was very deep for me. I have water all the way up to, I don't know if you can see, but all the way up here. And even though I had my fanny pack over my shoulders and my camera up here, I got like my microphone a little bit wet and my fanny pack got wet. So yeah, it was pretty deep. And big rocks, that always makes it much harder when there's like big rocks, no place to place your feet, and yeah, I just had to like inch my way closer and closer to the other side. And like in the middle of the stream where the current was the strongest, it was pretty tough. But yeah, happy to be on the other side, didn't lose anything. And yeah, I'm gonna do like 5 miles more now.
Overcoming this first great obstacle gave me a surge of confidence. I knew nothing could stop me from reaching the Colorado border now. The release of all that tension gave me a big boost in motivation. There was still the last major snow patch ahead, covering most of the remaining 20 miles in New Mexico. But at least, for a few more miles, I could enjoy the feeling of that semi-dry trail beneath my feet.
What a lovely trail this morning. It's a little bit wet in a lot of places and muddy, but I can deal with that. Every mile without snow is a lot faster, so thankful for that. I actually did expect to get snow earlier, but I think there's a couple of more miles before we start climbing up to about 3,000 meters, and then we'll definitely get snow.
At Lagunitas campground, we started to ascend to 3,200 meters. It felt like a magic line. Above this elevation, we found the first real snow. From here on out, we'd mostly stay above this elevation, and dry trail would become a rare luxury. The first 3 miles through the snow were rough. The snow was deep and soft in the afternoon, and because we were navigating through the forest, it was impossible to follow the trail. We constantly found ourselves post-holing deep between fallen trees, which were scattered in an intricate pattern across the forest floor. After struggling for an hour or so, we came across some old friends who had found the only bare patch of ground and set up camp there, making a fire. It seemed like a good idea to join them.
Now it's got a little character to the back of it, you know? Man, dude. That would have been horrible. Imagine just burning a hole, you know, for a 20-mile post hole. Alright, you guys are done. I get out my insoles.
My spirits were high after the night with the fire, and when the sunrise hit with the mist blanketing the valley below me, the scene seemed almost too perfect. When you're out there for months, you get your highs. And the trail was drier than expected, so naturally my hiking speed picked up. Sure, there were spots where I wasn't sure if I was walking through a stream or still on the trail, and there were parts with 100% snow cover through pretty dense forest where my feet sometimes disappeared into a post hole.
Oh yeah, there's post holing sometimes.
But with every step, I was getting closer.
It's not been the worst morning. I mean, I was expecting more snow than it's been. There's been some parts that was definitely not so nice. Soft snow. We probably got one coming up here through the trees and yeah, stuff like that. But otherwise it's been also some parts with totally snow-free trail. Yeah, not too bad. Except for this.
So with the musical madness, we'll live by one of the two. By one of the two.
So a little bit more than 4 miles to the border, and I just want to get there. Downhill on snow. This snow is amazingly solid, and it's just great.
Not a moment too soon. But should we ration the
1 mile to the border, so I'm really closing in, and I think the last part should be dry trail. Looks like that, so we'll see.
So I will follow the feeling and sing fever.
The very glamorous sign of New Mexico to Colorado and a barbed wire fence. I actually walked past this first. Yeah, it was not very clear. I saw there's another yellow sign up there, but yeah, Colorado, awesome. Yeah, New Mexico is finished. I maybe don't sound that excited, but I think I'm just tired. It was a lot of snow this last part, and I'm happy to be in Colorado.
And that's nothing to fear. No, it's nothing, my dear. But how do I know what you're thinking?
I had done my preparations and crossed into Colorado. Up until that point, I had been feeling pretty good about the snow. But I also knew that what lay ahead of me would be something much bigger. And as we hitched into Chama, I knew that the feelings of anxiety were still there. The snow was still there. And I needed to deal with it if I wanted to stay on my continuous path towards Canada. I was determined to at least give that a try. I'd been trying to suppress my anxious feelings, but standing at the doorstep of the Colorado mountains, I realized I'd been approaching it all wrong. I needed to channel those feelings into something productive. This was different from the Sierras, and I had to accept that, one step at a time. I could deal with one step. The anxiety of that was manageable. I couldn't let the anxiety control me. I had to prepare as well as I could for what lay ahead of me and trust myself to make the right decisions out there. And in that, the anxiety would serve to keep me from underestimating the task. There's growth in taking on those feelings, not running away from them. And isn't that what we all need? A little push beyond our limits? Just enough to make our lives a little richer.